Welcome to the deep dive. Wow, these players have some strong opinions.
Yeah, it's a very lively discussion.
Yeah, they're very passionate about this game and about what Mindark should be doing. What should Mindark do? And just from reading the title alone, it's clear that players are looking for some change.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this particular thread is that we're hearing from all sorts of players.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've got the veterans who've been playing forever, we have the newbies who are just starting out, and we even have some people who've left the game but are still really invested in seeing it succeed.
Huh. So like a range of perspectives.
Exactly. So it's going to give us a really interesting look into the challenges and opportunities facing Mindark.
Okay, well, let's jump in then. One of the biggest things that jumps out right away is this tension between the cost of playing and, actually enjoying the game.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Entropia Universe is famous for its real cash economy, right? But a lot of players are saying it's like a huge barrier to entry now.
Yeah, and you see a lot of complaints about the price of weapons and gear in the forums.
Like, how much are we talking?
Well, one player mentions that top-tier kits can cost upwards of $50,000 USD now.
What, $50,000?
Yeah, compared to just a few thousand back in 2005.
Wow, so the price has really gone up then.
It has, and you can understand why new players might feel priced out before they even have a chance to get started.
Absolutely, and it's not just the gear itself. It seems like there's also a lot of frustration with the loot system. Players are saying that the rewards just don't justify the expenses.
Right, and I think that raises an important question for Mindark. Is the game striking the right balance between risk and reward?
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, you have this real cash potential, which is obviously a huge draw.
Yeah, for sure.
But on the other hand, is that coming at the expense of player enjoyment and retention?
Yeah, I mean, if new players aren't sticking around long enough to even experience those potential rewards, then
it's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of challenges for new players, the forum is just overflowing with complaints about confusing mechanics and a lack of guidance.
Yeah, it's like they're being thrown into the deep end without knowing how to swim.
Right. Like that old saying.
Exactly.
So like what specifically are people finding confusing?
Well, a lot of players find the user interface to be incredibly unintuitive and overwhelming.
Yeah, I can see that.
And they say that Mindark doesn't do a good job of explaining the game's complexities.
Which can lead to a lot of frustration.
Exactly, and ultimately, people just quitting.
Yeah, and I saw one player even mention that there are like entire swaths of mechanics that aren't even touched on. I mean, wouldn't a more robust tutorial system be a huge help in a game like this?
Oh, absolutely. It would make a world of difference.
Okay, so let's move on to something else that's causing a lot of debate in the forum, this whole issue of UL versus L gear. So for our listeners who might not be familiar with Entropia lingo, can you quickly explain what that means?
Sure. So UL gear stands for unlimited, and it basically holds its value over time, so it tends to be more expensive.
Okay.
Whereas L gear or limited gear degrades over time, and it's theoretically supposed to be more accessible.
Got it. So what's the problem?
Well, the problem is that UL gear is so dominant in the game right now that it's actually causing some problems.
Oh, how so?
Well, players are essentially becoming like in-game economists. They're arguing that the prevalence of UL gear is actually stifling the economy and making it really tough for new players to progress because they just can't afford it.
That makes sense. And I saw that some players are suggesting that Mindark should slowly flood the market with UL gear to try to lower the markup and encourage people to use L gear more.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to engineer a controlled release valve for the economy.
Yeah, but I wonder if that would end up hurting the players who have already invested heavily in UL gear.
That's a good point. It's a tricky situation for Mindark to navigate for sure.
And beyond the economic concerns, there's this clear desire from players for a more engaging and rewarding experience overall.
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like they want more than just the grind for profit.
Yeah, and that's a recurring theme throughout the thread.
Like, what are some of the things that they're asking for?
Well, they want more interesting missions and quests.
Okay.
They want better loot drops, and they want more opportunities for cooperative gameplay.
So basically, they just want more depth and variety in their experience.
Exactly.
And I saw one player made a really interesting comparison to other MMOs, where quests guide you through different areas and levels, creating this sense of progression and achievement.
Right.
I can see how that could translate really well to Entropia Universe.
Absolutely.
Like, what if Mindark designed a quest system that took players on a journey through the universe, revealing more of its lore and encouraging exploration?
That's a great idea. It would give players a reason to venture beyond their usual hunting or mining grounds and really immerse themselves in the world.
Yeah, and it would open up so many possibilities for cooperative gameplay.
For sure.
Instead of just solo grinding all the time, you could have groups of players tackling challenging quests together.
That's right. It would add a whole new dimension to the game.
Speaking of dimensions, let's talk about transparency and communication. There's a lot of frustration in these forums about Mindark's lack of transparency, especially when it comes to the game's economy and loot mechanics.
Yeah, you're right. And it's fascinating because it really highlights the unique nature of Entropia Universe and how it blurs the lines between a game and a virtual economy.
So,
Well, players are essentially asking Mindark to be more open about their decisions, provide better customer support, and really build trust.
yeah, and it goes beyond just feeling in the loop, too.
Right.
Because one player actually compares the game to a multi-level marketing scheme, pointing out this perceived imbalance between those at the top and newer players who are struggling to stay afloat.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong statement.
It is, and it raises some important questions about how Mindark is managing this complex virtual economy and ensuring fairness for all players.
Definitely, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond to these concerns.
Well, buckle up because some of the solutions that players are proposing are pretty wild.
Yeah.
We're talking about integrating real-world concepts like stable coins and official statistics tracking to enhance the game's economy and transparency.
Yeah, it definitely shows how much players care about Entropia's future and how much they're thinking about these issues.
It does, but it also raises even more questions like, could Mindark actually implement these ideas and what would be the impact on the game?
It's a lot to consider.
It is. This deep dive is just getting started.
Yeah, we've got a lot more to unpack. It's really amazing to see just how invested these players are in Entropia.
Yeah.
They're not just like complaining, they're coming up with concrete solutions. There's, debating the finer points of the virtual economy.
Yeah, they're thinking really deeply about this.
You can just feel the passion in their posts.
Right, like they've all become armchair game developers.
Exactly.
And one player actually suggested a system where high-level players could hire lower-level players to complete certain tasks.
Oh, that's interesting.
Almost like a built-in mentorship program.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It would create this like interconnected ecosystem where everybody benefits.
Yeah.
The high-level players get the resources they need, and the lower-level players gain experience and maybe even make a bit of profit. And it fosters this sense of community and collaboration, which seems to be something that a lot of players are craving.
Speaking of community, someone else proposed allowing societies,
Oh, yeah.
which are like guilds in Entropia,
Right.
to create their own theme parks.
They could parse.
Yeah, with unique challenges and rewards.
That's cool.
Almost like giving players the tools to become game developers themselves.
Oh, wow. Think about the possibilities.
Right.
Mindark could set some guidelines to ensure equality and balance, but ultimately the creativity would come from the players.
Yeah, that could lead to some really innovative and unique content.
Definitely. And speaking of innovation, we can't forget about that bold suggestion to list PED on major crypto exchanges as a USD stablecoin.
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
I mean, that would be huge.
That would make headlines.
It would be a game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
Suddenly you're bridging the gap between the virtual economy and the real world economy.
Right.
And you'd probably attract a whole new wave of players who are familiar with cryptocurrency.
Yeah, but it's definitely a risky move.
Oh, for sure.
There would be regulatory hurdles and security concerns to address.
Absolutely.
But if it worked, it could revolutionize the way we think about in-game economies.
Totally. Entropia Universe would be at the forefront of something really exciting.
Yeah, it would really cement their position as pioneers in the world of real cash gaming.
But it's important to remember that innovation shouldn't come at the expense of the core gameplay experience.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of players are feeling pretty let down by the current loot system.
Oh.
They want those like aha moments,
Oh, I see.
the thrill of uncovering something truly special.
The excitement.
Yeah, and it seems like they feel like the loot has become too generic, especially for lower level players.
Okay.
One player was actually reminiscing about the good old days when you could hunt low-level mobs and actually get usable items like armor, weapons, even skill implants.
Oh, wow.
There's definitely a sense that the loot has lost its excitement, especially for those who are still working their way up.
It's like that feeling of getting a gift and it's something you already have 3 of.
Exactly.
You're just like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, it doesn't have that same impact.
So what if Mindark revamped the loot tables to include more unique and valuable items?
That would be great.
And maybe items that are tailored to different levels and professions.
That's a fantastic idea.
That would make things more exciting.
It would reintroduce that element of surprise and make the whole hunting and mining experience much more rewarding.
Yeah, and it would incentivize players to explore different areas, and experiment with various professions,
Absolutely.
which would add so much more depth and variety to the game.
Totally. And it ties into this bigger issue of making Entropia Universe more accessible and enjoyable for players of all levels, not just the veterans with deep pockets.
Right, and another thing that keeps coming up in the thread is this lack of transparency around the withdrawal process for real-world money.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because it's one thing to earn virtual currency in the game, but players want to know that they can actually access those profits in the real world, right?
Exactly. It's about trust and peace of mind.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a lot of speculation and uncertainty around the withdrawal process, which can be pretty unsettling for players who are putting real money into the game.
Yeah, especially with so much money at stake. So some players are even calling for Mindark to make the withdrawal process 100% transparent.
That makes sense.
They want clear explanations of the fees involved, processing times, any potential delays.
Right. They just want reassurance that their money is secure and the system is fair and reliable.
Exactly.
Transparency builds trust, and trust is essential in any game that involves real-world finances.
Couldn't agree more. And that this actually connects back to that earlier comparison of Entropia Universe to a multi-level marketing scheme,
Oh, right.
which was a pretty harsh critique.
It was.
But it highlights this concern that the game might be structured in a way that benefits those at the top at the expense of those just starting out.
Yeah, it's a sensitive topic, but it's a perception that Mindark needs to address.
For sure. They need to show players that they're committed to creating a balanced ecosystem where everyone has a chance to succeed,
Exactly.
not just the elite few.
And it's about fostering a sense of community and shared success rather than just this cutthroat competition for virtual riches.
Yeah. And speaking of community, that's another big theme that emerges from these forum posts.
Definitely.
Players are really longing for more opportunities to connect with each other, to collaborate and build lasting relationships.
For sure.
We see a lot of great suggestions for expanded cooperative gameplay features,
Like what?
like raids, group events, player-run tournaments, and competitions.
I love those ideas.
Imagine if Entropia Universe transformed from this solitary grind into this vibrant social hub
Yeah.
where players can share their experiences, strategize together, and maybe even form real-world friendships.
Absolutely. That would add a whole new layer of meaning and depth to the game.
Right, and that sense of community needs to extend to the relationship between Mindark and the players too.
That's right.
We talked about the need for transparency and communication, but it goes beyond that. It's about building a true partnership.
A partnership.
Yeah. So instead of just broadcasting decisions, Mindark would actively seek player feedback, consider their ideas, involve them in the decision-making process.
That would be huge.
Right? I bet players would feel so much more valued and heard if they felt like their voices were actually making a difference.
Imagine if Mindark created a community council made up of players from all different levels and professions.
Oh, wow.
They could offer insights into the player experience, help shape the game's direction, even test out new features before they're released.
That would be amazing.
It would really show that Mindark sees its players as partners in this ongoing evolution of Entropia Universe.
And that feeling of partnership could even extend to the content creation process itself.
Right?
Remember that idea of allowing players to co-create new content and game mechanics?
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
It's a bold concept, but it's so exciting to think about the possibilities.
So what would that look like?
Well, imagine players designing their own quests, crafting unique items, even building entire settlements and cities within Entropia.
Wow, that would be incredible.
It would be like giving players the keys to the kingdom.
It would.
Yeah, it wouldn't just benefit the players.
How?
It would free up Mindark to focus on the core infrastructure and technology of the platform.
Ah, I see.
They could become the architects of the universe,
Yeah.
and the players become the artists and storytellers who bring it to life.
That's beautiful.
It's a really collaborative vision for online gaming, where the possibilities are limited only by the imagination of the community.
I love it.
But let's bring it back down to earth for a minute and talk about some of the more practical aspects of improving the game.
Okay.
One thing that keeps coming up is the need for better customer support.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a sense that Mindark could be more responsive to player needs. We see complaints about long wait times for support tickets, generic responses that don't really address specific problems,
Right.
and just an overall lack of urgency in resolving issues.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
One player even describes the customer support as shoddy. So Mindark needs to invest in a more robust customer support system
Absolutely.
with knowledgeable staff who can offer timely and effective solutions.
and who genuinely care about the players.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's about building trust and loyalty,
Exactly.
which are so crucial for the long-term success of any online game, especially one with a real cash economy.
And speaking of the real cash economy, let's dive back into those suggestions for enhancing its stability and transparency.
Yep.
We already talked about the stablecoin idea, but some players are also advocating for something like official statistics tracking, similar to what we see in real-world financial markets.
Oh, that's interesting.
So instead of relying on rumors and speculation, players would have access to hard data on item prices, trading volumes, even broader economic indicators within Entropia.
That would be awesome.
It would give players a much clearer understanding of how the economy works and allow them to make more informed decisions about their investments and trading strategies.
Yeah, and it would promote transparency on the part of Mindark.
Absolutely.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're not hiding anything. Here's how the economy works, and we're committed to making it fair and open.
Exactly. It's about empowering players with knowledge and giving them the tools they need to navigate this complex economy.
And that brings us to the highly anticipated Unreal Engine 5 update.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're all excited to see the visual enhancements, the performance improvements, the new gameplay features that are coming.
Definitely.
But I have to say, after reading these forum posts, I'm even more curious to see how Mindark will use this opportunity to address some of the underlying issues that have been frustrating players.
It's a pivotal moment for Entropia.
Yeah, for sure.
Will they just focus on the tech, or will they take this chance to create a more balanced, engaging, and community-driven experience?
It's like they're standing at a fork in the road.
A fork in the road.
One path leads to a shiny new coat of paint, while the other leads to a truly meaningful transformation of the game.
So which path will they choose?
I guess we'll have to wait and see. Wow, it feels like we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From loot drops and weapon costs to the potential for stablecoins and player-created theme parks.
It's been a wild ride.
Entropia Universe is clearly at a crossroads.
It is, and it's exciting to think about what the future holds for this game.
Yeah. Mindark has some big decisions to make.
They do.
Do they stick with the status quo and cater to this smaller group of high-level players? Or do they embrace a more expansive vision? You know, one that welcomes players of all levels and really pushes the boundaries of what's possible in a real cash economy game.
It's a tough choice.
And this is where it gets really interesting because some players are suggesting some truly radical ideas.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, imagine societies governing their own territories,
Wow.
player-designed quests and missions, even a system where players can vote on major game changes.
That's taking player agency to a whole new level.
It is, right?
The players wouldn't just be participants, they'd be active stakeholders shaping the very world they inhabit.
Yeah, and that really aligns with the spirit of Entropia Universe, right?
It does.
This world built on the idea of real ownership and the potential to build real wealth.
And it blurs the lines between game and reality in a way that's both fascinating and thought-provoking.
It does. It raises all sorts of questions about economics, governance,
Right.
even social structures within a virtual environment.
So many questions.
What if Entropia Universe became a model for a new kind of online society?
A model.
Yeah, a society where players have real power, real ownership, and the ability to shape their own destiny.
That's a mind-blowing concept.
It is.
And it's one of the things that makes Entropia Universe so captivating. It's not just a game, it's like a glimpse into the future of online interaction and the possibilities of player-driven economies.
So what does all this mean for you, our listener?
Yeah.
Well, if you're already an Entropia player, this deep dive might have given you some fresh perspectives on the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Maybe you're feeling inspired by some of the player-proposed solutions, or perhaps you're just thinking about the future of the game in a whole new way. And if you're thinking about joining Entropia Universe, be prepared for a truly unique experience.
It's unlike anything else out there.
This isn't your typical online game.
Nope.
It's a world where risk and reward are intertwined, where virtual fortunes can be made and lost.
And where the players themselves have a real voice in shaping the game.
Exactly.
It's challenging, but potentially very rewarding.
For sure.
It requires patience, strategic thinking, and a willingness to adapt to a constantly evolving environment.
Yeah, you got to be ready for anything.
That's right.
As Mindark moves forward with the Unreal Engine 5 update, it'll be fascinating to see how they balance the needs of their players with their own vision for the future.
Yeah. Will they embrace the players' creativity and empower them to shape the game's destiny?
Or will they stick with a more traditional approach?
We'll have to wait and see.
But one thing is, certain Entropia Universe sparks passionate debate.
It does.
It fosters a sense of community,
For sure.
and it continues to push the boundaries of online gaming. And that's why we love diving deep into these topics.
That's right.
We hope this exploration has given you something to think about.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.